I'll just finish this whole workshop by discussing the student program. And the reason I was, I guess, invited to talk about the student program is that, not that I have been a student at the student program a very long time ago, but that through the work we have done in council and the transfer of the telescope, we have both prioritized the student program a lot, because there are many ideas in the student program and in the educational program as such that the council and the community needs, but also that at the moment we are discussing how we can improve the student program, making it even better. And this is something that we have applied for money to do through the Norforce grant, and that's also a reason to discuss the present status of the program and then what could we do in the future. I took this poster as the first thing because I think it's very important, and as pointed out by other people also before, that this workshop was about coming together to explore the science, the instrumentation and the education with the Nordic Optical Telescope. And this should be seen also as the acknowledgement of that these three parts of running a telescope are essential, all of them. You don't do education without science, and the science is also there to improve the education. And you, of course, don't do any of all that if you don't have instrumentation. So part of that is the education. And also, you, of course, see here on the poster, Johannes Andersen. And as I said on the first day, the student program is named after Johannes Andersen. It was a decision by council to do this to honor Johannes Andersen, but also because Johannes Andersen was really the one that changed the program from a possibility for a student to come here, as it was before, a bit random. A number of students could fluctuate into a full-scale program with 5 to 6 students being fully integrated into the way the telescope is operated. And we have a number of reasons to run this program. This, you can say, are the terms. So this hands-on experience is a central part of the student program, and it's actually something you can do on of course other telescopes, but to the level we do it here at the Nordic Telescope is very unique. And we have also clearly seen how this is important for the future of many of the students that have been here, have used that experience to become, you can say, more mature researchers and more mature astronomers. And you can just go to the web page, and it's not to say that those at the bottom of the list are the most important, but actually time goes this way. And I just want to point out, if you take the names there, a large fraction of the people all over the list, in fact, but also at the bottom are still active researchers. And here on this list, which are the first 20 students, you also see Amanda here. So you were, we discussed it a bit, but I think you have to reorder this because you were actually number 5. Anton was after you, but small error there. But you also see the chair of council, Heidi Kohonen, was also a student here, and so I can just speak for myself. I really learned to understand how you observe, how you plan things, and how you develop much better ways of designing the research you do actually by staying here. Yesterday at the dinner, I met Paco Amas. Several of you in the room know Paco Amas if you are a bit older than, not me, but than the youngest. And I just want to say that we are talking about Johannes Andersen, of course, who was very important for this, but I also think it's important to remember that when we started these student programs or allowed students here, there were, of course, a lot of people around who backed up. And Paco Amas, this is from yesterday night, Paco is retired now, but if I look back on the way I was met when I arrived here at the observatory, Paco was really the one taking care of so many things. So it was really coming to a place where you were appreciated. Paco, even his wife, Eileen, took care of my child. So, well, not all the time, but some days. So we could actually, my wife could continue studying also while we were here. And it was just this way of seeing students coming into the group that was very important. And of course, reminded Paco about all this yesterday. Since the beginning there have been, as I could count, including the present students and the students from Spain, 112 students have actually stayed about a year here on the telescope. This is an enormous amount of student activities and, of course, a resource that also the telescope have gained enormously from. And as it is now, you, and I don't have to say that because many of you in the room have, of course, applied through the student program, but we offer this, and we have this call for the student program essentially every year, where we openly invite students, not only from the Nordic countries, but we will we are prioritizing the Nordic or the partners in the Nord, but we also have, of course, international students among the students in the student program. I borrowed a slide from Thomas because 112 students, but since 2003 there have been 77 students or something. Thomas have made this long list of, well, it will take too long if we go through all of them, but these are the 77 last 78 seconds. Okay, yeah. Should we do it like that? No. And here you see all the. I mean, there's a reason they are happy, because many of these students have really gained a lot from being here, and also made friends and colleagues or partners they could continue to do research together with. So this is also an important part, that you really get collaborators out of this way of staying at the observatory and work here. So just a few things. The program and the reason that Council and ministries and universities are putting funding into this part of the operations of the Nordic Telescope is that it is really seen as a tool to train the next generation of astronomers. And this is, of course, a very important part of astronomy, that generation shifts, was it 4 generations now, whatever, is an important part of astronomy and the development of new instrumentation and new ways of observing. So it's linked, and if it doesn't, if we see a changing way of universities, how they offer or design educational programs. We of course have to adapt to this, because the reason we have the student program here is to allow students at our universities to get into this course, and that it is an integral part of education. Then we should of course set up so they can observe, not only do service for other people, but also do their own program. And NANOT is such a good telescope because, as many of you know, the threshold of being a professional observer at this telescope is, because of the good way it has been designed, in a couple of hours you can really start to do the research. Of course, you need experience to improve on things, but you can start observing quite fast in this telescope. And you don't need a huge technical staff to support all the observations on a specific night, but you of course need it to ensure the quality of the instrumentation. And then the future. Of course, evaluating things. That we could discuss, but the list is not complete, and maybe some of the questions are not those that we really should ask. And also, I'm not used all my time, so I will allow any of you also to say questions you think we should take into this discussion on what we should actually do. So of course we should start by a very broad question: what can we actually improve? What should we modify? And it could be in all aspects. It could be how we integrate it. It could be how we are announcing the program, how it fits to the education in general. But it could also be what we do when people are, when students are here on the observatory. And in relation to this, the good question is, of course, is the balance that we have now in the student program between support work on instrumentation, if you're involved in this, involvement in observational projects, which is, of course, one of the ideas that you do your own, but it could also be how do we involve the students in other research programs? Should it continue to be like it is now? I know that it's, of course, also different from student to student, but could we also imagine that studentships could be very different from what we do right now? And I'm not claiming that I know the answer to this, but these are some of the things I think we should discuss. We should also, I think, discuss, because we are part of the IAC, of course, so I suggest that we also discuss, can we actually use that the IAC in La Laguna is actually only a short flight from here. could we, I think you already do some of it, but could the ISC scientific staff and our students also become closer connected? Because as I understand, at least, it's not very on regular basis that our students go to ISC. So this could also be one of the things I could imagine. So these are personal things I put up here. Should we have even more students? I mean, 5 and 6, is that a good number? And could we also imagine that some of the future funding into the operation of the telescope and the student program could be more externally funded? So in relation to specific universities or other programs, would we like to see a funded student program? Because we know how to operate it, but we may not in the long term know how to fund all these things. So this is a very, of course, bureaucratic way of looking at it, but I think it's really an important thing also to consider using the student program to fund activity. And with that, I will actually, for John, as the chair continues, I could just ask you, are there things you think we should add to this list? You don't have to shout now, but please email these things to us, Thomas, me, whoever, because we will include this in the discussion on the student program that will take place in council and in the working groups around council, of course in close collaboration with the observatory and the observatory staff. So this is my final slide here, and then after some questions, we have a few more things to say, but I will finish my presentation here.